Hi there guys, that was the Wampler Tumnus in the intro jam, and I used it in a boosting capacity with my DV Mark amp. Now the day after I recorded that, Anderton's released a Klon shootout between 10 Klons and including a real deal Klon, which is like $4 or something daft. And this little pedal came out on top, which I'm sure Mr. Wampler is rubbing his hands together about. But there's two things that I can take away from that video. One, I love the format because it sort of dispels a lot of the myths that sort of come up about different pieces of gear. When you take away sight and you're just left with what it sounds like, you get some interesting results. It's amazing how often the mid-range pedals seem to come up near the top on those things. They seem, not every time, but they seem to be able to weed out the sort of low-rent gear. But they have much more difficulty in discerning the difference between mid-range and high-end, which probably shows you where you should be putting your money. The other thing that I'm going to take away from that video is that this thing definitely sounds like a Klon. So I had a little Klon clone on the channel before, which was a Mosky Golden Horse, which was a 20 quid pedal, and it sounded great, you know, to get a completely giggable pedal for 20 quid, it's a total bargain. But I didn't really know whether it sounded like a Klon, and having heard this one now, I would say that it had some of the characteristics, but not everything. Anyway, I wasn't sure what the difference was between a Klon and a Tube Screamer, and so this gives me an opportunity because now I've got something that sounds very much like a Klon, and I've got a Fulltone Fulldrive 3, which will be my Tube Screamer for this test. And having compared the two, I would say that under certain circumstances, they sound quite similar, and in other circumstances, they are sort of poles apart, and you'll really be able to hear the difference. So let me give you a reference tone. I'm using the DV Mark GH250, it's in the rack right here behind me, and that's what you heard in the intro jam as well. So I've got a little bit of gain on the amp, but not too much, and these pedals really sound better for me, for my personal taste, when the amp's got a little bit of gain on it. They sound pretty ratty if the amp is too clean, and this is a super clean when I flip the channel over in a second. So this is the amp. I've got the tone wide open, by the way, which I would never normally do. So that's your Tube Screamer. And here's the Klon. I think maybe the volume on that is a tiny bit higher. I gotta say, there's so much more volume in the Klon than the Tube Screamer. The volume on the Klon is on about 11 o'clock. I'll put some pictures up so you can see what the settings are, and they won't look like I've matched them, but that's just because where the dials sort of fall. So on the Tube Screamer, I've got the volume nearly on full. The tone is also nearly on full. That's just because the full tone is quite dark. It does have treble to give, it's just that you've got to turn it up a long way. So let me flip between the two, starting with the Tube Screamer, and yeah, you just hear the difference on some lead stuff. Never know what to play on these things. Let me try some stuff on the neck pickup. Couldn't remember what I just played. Close enough. Anyway, so you can hear what that sounds like on the dirty channel. This is on the clean, and here's the clean channel by itself. I'm going to go minor. And this is the Tube Screamer. And don't forget, like I said, these are going to sound pretty ratty in the high end because we're going into a super clean channel. And I've got the tones wide open, and I've got the volume wide open, and I never do that because it just sounds too plangy to me. But anyway, this is what we're doing for a test. on the go with the Klon when you flip over to the clean channel. I've got to think what I'm going to play now. I have to remember that now. That was not it, but anyway, you get the idea. It's a warmer, slightly less fizzy, grainy tone to me. I'm leaning more towards the Tumnus. So my conclusion would be that for me, in the way that I use these pedals as a boost, they're very similar. And I could probably get what the Tube Scream has given me by just tweaking the amp EQ a little bit when I'm using a Klon. But for a clean boost, I definitely preferred the Klon because it gave you a lot more sort of warm low end and a slightly rounder, sweeter top with less grain in the drive, which is something that I definitely prefer. Anyway, hope you guys dug the video. If you did, maybe give it a like, share, subscribe to the channel if you're new here. And I want to say thanks to anyone that's already subscribed to the channel, because as it is right now, I've literally just gone past 1K. So I'm really happy about that. Thanks for being part of it. I got a message from YouTube to say, "This is bananas." That's what you get when you go past 1K, by the way. You get a message to say, "This is bananas." Yeah. Okay. Anyway, see you in the next one. Later.